From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Last night, late, at the strike of midnight, it was the deadline for Trump to make a big decision about the future of trade in the United States. Will he exempt key allies from steel and aluminum tariffs? During the weekend, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said that the White House would grant some countries relief, but he wouldn't say which ones. Oh, the humanity! How long can I sit this close to the edge of my seat? Well, this is uncharted territory in trade policy. Which way will the Trump winds blow today? Well, close to the midnight deadline, Trump announced that he would delay steel and aluminum tariffs for, drumroll please, Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. Whew, that was a close call. He pulled back on his major trade threat. President Trump has delayed his promised tariffs on metal imports for key allies until June 1st, marking at least temporary retreat from the hardline trade policy and giving other nations more time to negotiate for relief. European leaders have threatened countermeasures if Trump goes ahead with his proposed tariffs. The European actions would target such items as motorcycles and bourbon, which are both produced in Republican electoral strongholds. A high-powered delegation will go to Beijing to hold talks on trade on Thursday. These talks on trade could be the most consequential economic decisions of the Trump presidency. Conservative House allies of President Trump have drafted articles of impeachment against Deputy Attorney General Rod J. Rosenstein. You might remember who he is. Rosenstein's the guy, the Deputy Attorney General who took over overseeing the Russian investigation when Jeff Sessions had to recuse himself last March. There's clearly a growing divide between, congressional Republican leaders. Some have maintained for months that Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller should be able to proceed with his investigation through completion, while other GOP lawmakers continue repeatedly to try to discredit and undermine the Justice Department and call the Russia investigation a witch hunt. Now, I don't know why when I say the words a witch hunt, I always sound like Trump. It just happens. The drafted articles would unlikely garner any significant support in Congress, but it could, however, serve as a political weapon for conservatives in their standoff with Mueller and the Justice Department. A simple majority is needed for an article of impeachment to pass and be sent to the U.S. Senate for trial, but 2/3 of the Senate are necessary to convict and then remove the accused from office. Now, Trump has warned in recent days that he could make sweeping changes in the Justice Department, has repeatedly rallied against the special counsel's investigation, calling it baseless and politically motivated. The standoff continues. Will Mueller be releasing any findings from his investigation anytime soon? The team has been remarkably tight-lipped, and no leaks have come out of the special counsel. Well, not no leaks, because the questions that Mueller has for Trump came out last night. Other than those questions, we have no idea what the Mueller team is going to have. But was Trump and his team just acting immorally, or did he commit a crime? Or is he completely squeaky clean? If he's completely squeaky clean, you'd think he would be eager to answer the questions that we were able to read last night and clear his name. Because if you are clean, those questions are not a threat to you. White House Chief of Staff John F. Kelly on Monday denied that he ever called President Trump an idiot. He wouldn't do that. He calls an NBC story saying that he had done so total BS. NBC had reported that John Kelly often tells senior aides that they have to save the president from himself and his impulses, and that Trump doesn't understand policy. Oh, snap! Within 45 minutes of this report, Kelly punched back, shutting it down as fake news. The quick denial brings back old memories, like when former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson called Trump a fucking moron. Excuse my language, I'm just quoting here. And then he lost his job after he would not outright deny making the comments. John Kelly here joined the administration last July. He joined up, and he was charged with instilling discipline and order into a chaotic West Wing. He has reportedly fallen out of favor with Trump in recent months and is no longer included in many key decisions, according to, White House aides. But don't be fooled, because he did not call Trump an idiot. No way, no how. That's just rumor. That's BS. Senator Marco Rubio told The Economist in recent interview that there is no evidence whatsoever that the corporate tax cut Republicans passed last year is overwhelmingly benefiting workers. Now, Democrats claim that all the time. They say Republicans' corporate tax cuts enrich big businesses while doing little for workers. But now that line of criticism is coming from a prominent Republican. Trickle-down economics don't just not work. They're not happening at all. Independent analyses have always said that the bulk of the lost tax cuts would go to the wealthy. A spokeswoman for Rubio said on Monday that the senator believes the corporate tax cut would make the U.S. more competitive for companies, but not for wage growth, not for ordinary people. Rich business owners are just going to get more rich. In the interview with The Economist, Rubio pitched a set of government programs and policies aimed at helping workers. He argued for a more generous benefit system, a paid family leave program, a more robust child tax credit, and expanding training programs for workers and for workers who've lost their job. Marco Rubio says that if we basically say everyone's on their own and the market's going to take care of it, we're going to rip this country apart because millions of good, hard-working people lack the means to adapt. Now, I'm not Marco Rubio's biggest fan, but I will say this is the kinds of things I want to hear from the Republican Party. Carry me, caravan, take me away. Take me to Portland, take me to Maine. Yesterday, dozens of Central Americans seeking asylum in the United States reached the California-Mexico border. U.S. border officials stopped them there and said, "We don't have room, enough space to accommodate all of these people in this group." Well, this group is only made out of 225 asylum-seeking migrants, citing their right to seek shelter from persecution in their home country. The Trump administration is, of course, trying to crack down on illegal immigration, and they say that many asylum claims are just flat-out fraudulent. This particular group, the president seems to have been tracking for weeks as they made their way north to seek refuge. It's as if it's his team in March Madness. Trump tweeted last week that he ordered the Secretary of Homeland Security not to let these large caravans of people into our country, adding, "It's a disgrace." International law states that the U.S. government is obliged to allow foreigners to apply for asylum. The migrants now sit on the ground on blankets and underneath donated blue tarps outside border crossing. They're wondering what's going to happen to them. Trump used this convoy in part to justify the deployment of National Guard troops along the border, and those troops have arrived in California along the border this week. The caravan started with more than 1,500 people, but the numbers dwindled to about 200 as the group made its way north by foot, by bus, and by train. Some dispersed, others chose to stay in Mexico. About 300 people remained in northern Mexico in a city called Hermosillo, and they're applying for humanitarian visas. That's what organizers are telling us.